Thank you to all the panelists and participants. Thank you to all of the attendees for joining this sort of part two of the Dickerson Centennial Conference. It's really been a tremendous day. And I especially want to thank you, Sharon, Professor Fairley, Professor Hubbard, Professor McAdams, for your vision, again, and your leadership in organizing these events and you're overcoming all the challenges of the pandemic. It's been really remarkable to see the enthusiasm from so many members of our community and our friends of the law school for Mr. Dickerson's life and his incredible legacy. And taken together the research projects, the papers, the displays of photographs and speeches, the lectures, even a whole winter quarter class, and other events that really comprised an entire centennial year, really reflected the tremendous impact that Mr. Dickerson's legacy continues to have on our law school community. Now, as we planned through this year and as we proceeded through this centennial year, we really came to the realization that we didn't want the inspiration of Earl Dickerson's accomplishments and impact to end with this conference, and nor did we want to wait another 100 years to celebrate them. So I'm delighted to announce that we will soon add a portrait of Earl B. Dickerson to our law school. Over time, our law school has acquired a collection of portraits of mostly former faculty members whose contributions to the law school and to the university were truly outstanding. And these include portraits of faculty members such as James Parker Hall and Ernst Freund, important figures such as Harry Bigelow and Judge Edward Hinton. In 1985, Earl Dickerson wrote a letter to our then Dean Gerhard Casper about what the law school meant to him. I mentioned this letter in the opening of the first session in October. And in looking back at it again, I'm struck that Mr. Dickerson wrote about what he called his indebtedness to the law school. And he noted that his indebtedness was even greater than those of other graduates who went on to become very wealthy. And as he wrote to Dean Casper, he described this indebtedness as being greater for him because, and here I quote, the intangible ways of inspiration and preparation for the high causes to which I committed myself that he received at the law school. And in particular, he wrote, and here I'll quote again, I discovered that the best way for me to fight for equal opportunity and for justice and freedom for all people was through the profession of law. It was my good fortune to be able to enroll in and graduate from the University of Chicago Law School, and to be taught by such splendid students and teachers of the law as Dean James Parker Hall, Harry Bigelow, Ernst Freund, and Judge Edward Hinton. That's the end of the quote. And so it's so fitting that a likeness of Earl B. Dickerson should join those in the law school's faculty who were a source of inspiration for him. Now, a Chicago-based artist, Sean Michael Warren, will complete the portrait of Mr. Dickerson. I'm excited that we have Mr. Warren as the artist to create this portrait. Mr. Warren grew up on the South Side and has gained national prominence for his artwork. His work includes several large-scale murals and major portraits of, among others, Martin Luther King Jr., Oprah Winfrey, and most recently, George Lucas. I'm grateful to Mr. Warren, and I look forward to unveiling his completed work. And we were very fortunate to connect to Mr. Warren through the Gallery Gouchard, which is right here in Bronzeville. Andre and Francis Gouchard are the owners of the gallery, and Andre Gouchard is a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Mr. Dickerson was a charter initiate of the Beta chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi when it was established at the University of Illinois, Champaign in 1913. Now, a wonderful additional connection is the Gallery Gouchard used to be housed in a building in Bronzeville, the same building that was the headquarters of Supreme Life Insurance, where Mr. Dickerson worked for so long and eventually became the CEO. And so these fascinating connections are additional evidence of the importance of Mr. Dickerson to our law school community and to the broader community in Chicago. And this centennial celebration has allowed us to reflect on the breadth of his influence and his contributions. And I look forward to honoring this legacy in a new way. And I hope that the portrait will serve as a reminder to our students, to our alums, and to all our visitors who come to our law school of Mr. Dickerson's courage in seeking higher education and especially in enrolling at our law school, his persistence in the pursuit of justice, and his deep belief in the legal system. And indeed, his portrait should raise the aspirations of today's students as to the great and varied accomplishments they can achieve with the transformative education they receive here at our law school. They can go on to become path-breaking lawyers, selfless civil servants, successful business people, or like Mr. Dickerson himself, to become all of these things. His portrait should also strengthen our belief in the importance of law and inspire us as to what the legal system can accomplish. The contributions and perspectives of all our students make our community better and more robust. Students of all races, backgrounds, perspectives, faiths, and experiences advance the law school's commitment to intellectual inquiry in law and to transformative education. Mr. Dickerson's portrait will remind us of these foundational values. And again, my thanks to Andre and Francis Gouchard for their assistance, and thank you in advance to Sean Michael Warren for your work. I look forward to convening finally in person, I hope, in autumn to unveil Mr. Dickerson's portrait. And thank you again to all who've contributed to the Dickerson Centennial events and projects over the past several months. Thank you again to Professors Fairley, Hubbard, and McAdams for your leadership in organizing the Centennial. And I'll turn the program back over to Professor Hubbard to provide closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Dean Miles. I'm so honored to be a part of this celebration and so thrilled with your announcement that Earl B. Dickerson will rightly be joining the pantheon of legal greats that will be immortalized in our halls through a portrait. I want to, as we close, I want to make sure to thank our events team for helping us put this conference together. I want to thank all the panelists, the family and friends of Earl Dickerson, everyone who joined us here today for this event. We heard from those of you who knew him personally, who grew up in his home, who knew him all of your lives, those of you who worked with him. I want to note, however, that we didn't just hear you reminisce about Earl Dickerson. It really made an impression on me to hear Valerie Jarrett, Timuel Black, Barbara Bowman, Steve Saltzman, Steve Brown talk about how big a part of what Earl Dickerson means to them isn't just who he was, but what he would call upon us to do today. His energy, his tenacity, his enthusiasm for the fight, his relentless commitment to the cause of justice. That is, and that should be, his legacy for us. We saw and we heard Ron O.J. Parson and actors from Court Theater performing the Langston Hughes poem Harlem and scenes from A Raisin in the Sun. And I want to recall, just take a moment to recall the comment from Gerard Haynes, who played Walter Lee. One of the subtle but important themes of A Raisin in the Sun, both when the play was written and today for us, is that although so much of our collective attention and rhetoric is devoted to the search for equality, we also need equity. And as he pointed out, not just equity in some abstract sense, but as the play showed us, in a literal, concrete sense, home equity, wealth and property. And I think this connects so perfectly with Earl Dickerson's own life. How legal equality and economic equity are inseparable. His whole life, he was a lawyer and a business person. He understood this better than anyone. And of course, speaking of property, we heard from lawyers and journalists like Lolly Boeing, Larry Wood, Kate Waltz, who seek to build on Dickerson's legacy today, identifying inequity in housing and fighting for fair housing. I hope you find inspiration in Earl Dickerson's life and work as I do. I hope that we can find the tenacity and the enthusiasm to live that legacy in whatever way that we can. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you, Court Theater. Thank you to the family of Earl B. Dickerson. Thank you to everyone who joined our conference today. I now, on behalf of myself and my fellow organizers, I'd like to bring this conference to a close with the words of Earl B. Dickerson, as read to us by his granddaughter, Judy Cohen, only moments ago. May the spark that fuels you never cease to burn. Be safe, be well, and best wishes to all of you for a beautiful weekend. Thank you for joining us.